Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Red, where we bring you all the news, stories, takes, and opinions about your favorite teams from the Pacific Northwest, from the good to the bad to the Mariners.
The sweet, sweet Mariners, baby. They are back.
The mother effing Mariners is right. We are T minus 1 day from opening day. So it is time to look a little bit more at this team. Uh, some things have been outlined. We'll touch on that at the beginning, and then we'll get into our preseason predictions for stats and award winners for offense, pitching, and overall. But before we do that, I want to tell you a little bit about us. If you're ready for a guy that is ready to see the Mariners put a trident up the rest of the AL West arses, you're looking for a guy like me, Coach Red. You can find me on X at the real Coach Red, on Instagram at the real underscore Coach Red, TikTok at the real Coach Red. Also find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and leave a comment or two. Why don't you? And if you are looking for a guy that has seen us rise as Mariners and is the truest to the bluest, it's Cain.
That's right, I am. I'm Kane. You can find me over on Twitter at Kane2406, TikTok, and Twitch, Kane0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Follow us. Do it. Freaking do it.
Before we dive into anything, it's that time of the year. Season hasn't started yet. 0-0. We can all agree that the Mariners' lack of pursuing bats and actively trying to improve this team by leaps and bounds in the off season while having this elite rotation is frustrating, but that doesn't put a damper when you look at the rest of the AL as a whole. There's flaws in every team right now. You know, I think the team that's probably closest to no flaws would almost be the Orioles, but their starting pitching rotation isn't what it
It's
was
it's
last year.
it's booty. It is
So
booty. Zach Eflin is their opening day starter.
I've seen some projections where like the Mariners are the 2 seed with like 86 wins, like 2 seed in the entire AL.
Yeah.
So crazy times. But let's get into really what happened this last week in the lead up to the season. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the Mariners made the move that we
We've
all
all
thought
been
should
waiting
happen.
for.
It's one that we didn't think would happen. And just because it happened doesn't mean that it doesn't tug at your heartstrings. Mariners cut ties with Mitch Haniger, came into preseason. I hit a home run very early in spring training,
Yep.
but was banged up. I think that if he's healthy throughout spring training, he makes the roster. I think that's why they
Yeah.
didn't do it earlier in the season. I would have liked them to put him on the injured list and have him partake in opening day ceremonies in some form or fashion
Mhm.
and then announced it potentially on Friday. I think that would have been a much more better send off for a guy that really kind of bridged the gap between how close you were with Felix, Seager, Cano, and Cruz to what you've kind of seen lately, right? He was
Yeah.
he was the emotional leader for this team, hands that reins over to JP after he ends up signing the deal with the San Francisco Giants. Good story to bring back. You're looking at a guy where you needed guys with bats. Robbie Ray was not going to be playing until best case All-Star break. At the time, you sat there and you made some moves. It didn't work out in the long run, I think, for anybody. So, but it sucks to see Mitch go, but it's
Yep.
something that needed to happen for the betterment of the
Um,
2025 squad.
yeah, it gives I love Mitch Haniger, and I will scream it from the rooftops. There's so many times. I mean, he is the all-time leader in walk-offs, which who
Yep.
expected that, right?
There's going to be some competition, and we will talk about some of those guys as we
Yeah,
continue in the podcast.
yeah. But him not being on this team allows you to have a much more flexible lineup. And I think ultimately that's just they both understood. I mean, Mitch on his exit was says it was an honor to put on the jersey again. The dude
If he doesn't
bled
get picked up,
Mariners.
I would love the Mariners to offer him some sort of advisor role, like,
Yeah,
clubhouse liaison, kind of like what a lesser extent of what Ichiro's doing. But I think that
yeah,
he loves being around the city. I think he loves being around this team. I think he loves this group of guys. And I think that that's shown back on him as well. So I think if
yeah.
you can find a way
Very
to keep him
beloved.
around the organization in some form or fashion, I think it'd be a benefit for everybody.
I agree. I agree.
Big news the next day.
Yeah.
The Mariners do something that nobody expected.
Not a soul.
Root offers a stream route only for the Mariners season for $120 a year.
Yep.
Didn't think we'd see the day.
Yeah.
I'm
And then
sticking
on
with
top
Fubo.
of
I was on Comcast Xfinity and you could download the Root app and watch it. Root app before was bad. So I hope
yeah.
that they do that for the rest of the fans out there. I'm sticking with Fubo until I have a
Yeah.
reason not to, because I mean, fiance does love some other shows. I don't think she's just going to be tuning into Mariners like I am, but be
Exactly.
there for most of it.
I just use your Fubo for Mariners. So
Aware, aware.
yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Also, I did we touch on the Nintendo patch?
No, we did not.
Yeah, they also partnered up with Nintendo again, which is super cool.
Smart.
Super smart. Yeah, they had ties with them back in the early 2000s, so it's super cool to see that back. I think that the large patch is ugly,
I saw
but
I saw a bunch of people around Twitter that were petitioning it to be like black and white theme, so it goes a little bit more on
yeah,
brand than a bright ass red patch.
but
Whereas,
Nintendo is red. So I don't think
agreed.
it's gonna change.
Or you
Whatever.
flip the color scheme where it's mainly white, where you have the pop of red, right?
Sure, sure.
Nintendo's in red, all that stuff.
But let's get to the best news of the week, Coach.
Best news of the week: Rowdy Telez makes the 40-man roster. He gets
I
called
mean,
up. He gets added, and
that's
he's
pretty cool,
probably going to
though.
be starting on opening day, baby.
I
Woo!
mean, it's still pretty cool that
No, that is.
finally.
I mean, in 16 spring training games, limited at bats, he had 3 dingers. Uh,
And they were crushed.
and what that does is that opens up some more flexibility where Luke Rayleigh can play first base for you along with Solano. So you can have the Telez Solano platoon. It allows Randy Rosarena to potentially get some more DH bats. It
Yes.
allows Rayleigh to play out in the field, where I think that in the outfield he's a stud. It
Mhm.
it gives you so many more roster variations than
Yep.
you would have had with Mitch on the team.
Yep. And it doesn't take as much at bats away from Mitch Garver.
No, it doesn't. I actually don't think, even though Mitch had a strong spring, especially going up against a righty, that he will not be uh, on the opening day starting
I
lineup. But I can see
primarily
him
is
getting a
going to
bat.
be. They're going to face lefties this whole week.
Yeah, except for opening day,
Yeah. So I feel fine
he'll get
with
some play.
Garver. Yeah, 100%.
But
So
let's get to the big news. The
yeah.
big dumper is
Oh,
here.
baby.
Mariners signed him to a 6-year extension, $105 million deal. It comes out to 17.5 on the average. Saw the breakdown. 1 mil. It's a 10 mil signing bonus, 1 mil salary this year. I believe it's 7 next year, and then
Mhm.
clocks up above 20 for the rest of the life. Math
I
might be
believe
slightly off.
then
Might be a
the
15 in there.
no, it goes what it is, one, then like
7, 7 or 8.
7, and then like 12, and then bumps up with the vesting option for year 7
Yeah.
and up to $123 million has been reported.
What this does is keeps your window open, and
Yes.
it gives the guy should have been an all-star last year.
Mhm.
He was a platinum glove winner. What he does with this staff, what he does in the clutch, this is the
He's
I'm
the
not going to
leader of
say
this
he's the
team.
captain of your team, if you will, because he's not the emotional guy, but he's the steady pulse of this team. You
Yep.
know, he's the guy day in and day out playing banged up, going out there, hitting homers from both sides. He's that guy that can give you instant juice when you're not seeing it from the rest of this team.
Mhm.
We've said this for the last couple of years. This team ebbs and flows as Julio goes, but they bailed their way out of games with Cal Raleigh's heroics quite a few times last year. And when you look at a core of Julio and Cal through the decade and more, you're going to see Mitch Haniger's walk-off streak get obliterated by one of those two, probably both of them.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm in the camp of put a C on the man's chest. I think that he's a big voice in the locker room. I think he might be the biggest. Him and Dan are a lot alike in a sense, and from reports, they're pretty close. So I
Extremely
think,
close.
and I think that this gives you hope that Dan Wilson is long-term manager. Because you tie him to Dan Wilson now, and I believe that's the case. And I don't know. Everybody says Dan should have been a manager long ago, and now he is. See how it runs, but I just love this for the
He's not
city, for everybody.
he's not even the top catcher contract in the game,
He's number
which
three.
exactly, and tied for three was with Wilson Contreras on the average.
Yes.
But what I also think this helps is with your younger starting pitchers, the Fab Four of Gilbert, Kirby, Miller, and Wu, that the ability for them to potentially re-sign. If Cal's going to take a slightly under market deal, knowing that he could get paid big bucks and have bigger offensive numbers in a more hitters friendly park, I think the opportunity to continue to catch the staff is a draw. I think that he has acclimated extremely well. He is a fan favorite. And I think that that's going to be a draw for this
Yes.
starting staff to maybe knock a few dollars off of their asking price to have Cal Raleigh behind the dish for them for a good chunk of their career.
I am in agreement with that, except I think three of the four stay.
I do agree that it's three of the four, but I think without Cal Raleigh, you might have been sticking
It's
it two.
yeah, and I think the odd man out here is George Kirby.
We'll see
George
what
Kirby,
happens.
like George,
But
Cal doesn't catch him. He doesn't.
he has, but I think
Right.
that Kirby is just so routine in with
Yeah.
with himself that he's I think he dictates a lot of the game plan before the game itself, right? I feel like
Mhm.
Logan is the key example. They made a commercial where he will not shake off Cal, right? You
Yeah.
have Miller and Wu that have seen what Cal has done. And Kirby was kind of in the earlier part of that, right? Where Cal still
Yeah.
was kind of year two, year three, kind of in and out. And then you needed that guy that had that gap, which you saw Garver catch a little bit of Luis Castillo. But I think that with Kirby's accuracy, it plays better to Garver's strengths, right? And I do
Mhm.
think that as this team grows, that you will see Cal catching Kirby on a more regular basis. But I do think that the ability of Kirby and some of the things that we will be talking about throughout the year is that Kirby is just like in a rocking chair. He's in his rhythm right from the start, every single game. I think that you put him in about any situation. You look his rookie year, that playoff start, he was unfazed.
It was
He
electric.
looked like $1 million. So I think that yes, he's going to be a guy that commands big dollars, and I think that he could be a guy that would like to get closer to the East Coast potentially, back to his roots. I could see that, but I do think that as a whole, this gives you a better opportunity to keep
Mhm.
this staff together long term.
I agree. I agree. I just
And
Cal Raleigh is my favorite player,
you and I talked
and
about this before the episode, the real cherry on top of this whole thing would be a Mariners opening day win. They have one of the best winning percentages, if not the best winning percentage in all of Major League Baseball on opening day. But if they
Uh,
can come to an extension with their opening day starter Logan Gilbert,
Dude.
I don't think you could put together a better week for Mariners fans coming off of the off season that we endured.
You'd sit here and everything is fine and dandy at that point, right? You signed the two biggest pieces back, and I would love Logan Gilbert to be here long time. I get Felix vibes from him, dude. Just the cult following
And
of him.
he goes from 0 to 100. I mean, a lot
Walter
of
and
these
Tall
guys
Man
can,
just
but
hmm.
Walter is it gives you, you're right, it does give a lot of good Felix vibes.
Yeah. Yeah, get his own section. Like,
That was good. That was good of you.
thank you. Thank you. All right, let's get to the nitty-gritty.
Oh, welcome to Seattle. We are in extreme weather warning. The thunder is rolling,
Thunderdome.
and we're ready for the hail. We're ready for the tornadoes because guess what? The Mariners will be playing regardless tomorrow, and I'm all here for it. But now we
Yes.
need to go through this in case the wind starts whipping and I lose power.
Yeah.
All
All
right,
right.
let's go into some pitching statistics. So we've got 5 different pitching statistics that we're going to go over. Kane and myself will both go through and tell you who we think will be the leader in the clubhouse for each of them. The first one we're going to go with, it's tough to find a lot of good pitching stats because one thing I'm not going to talk about is whip because I still don't understand it and I never want to understand it.
I
So I'm
know that
never going to.
having a one or above is good.
Okay, great.
That's all I
That
know.
sounds so stellar. I'm not
Sure.
going to dive into it. All
My
right.
whips in MLB the Show are like crazy. So
So, first one we're going to talk about is walk to strikeout ratio. So, more strikeouts than walks. Who do you think leads that category for the Mariners this year?
I think it's gonna be Logan.
Logan
I
Gilbert.
yeah. I think Logan's gonna dial it up this year because they're putting the stamp of the ace on him this year, right? Like I think we all have pretty high hopes for him, and he has high hopes for himself. I was torn here because I was also
There's no panic at the disco for you. You've got
like
high hopes for Logan
I
Gilbert.
I was torn at this one because I
Well,
also
stick
think
by your
Bryce.
guns.
I
Stick
know,
by your
I
guns.
know, because Bryce was also in my conversation for this, and I think Logan's gonna come with a different energy this year, and I think he's gonna just dominate the strike zone and get a lot of whiffs. So, Coach Red, who do you got on walks to strikeout ratio?
I'm going to dominate you in this. It's George Kirby. George Kirby has like the second best all time walk to strikeout to walk ratio in Major League Baseball history. The only guy above him is a dead ball pitcher.
Hey
It's
man,
insane. Like George Kirby, he gets on his rocket chair. If it's a somewhat off game if he has one walk. If he has two, it's like the worst start of the year. Usually sitting at 0 walks or less, averages less than a walk a game. And he's usually getting you 6 or 7. Yes, he's going to be coming off the IL, but he's already back in the throwing routine. I don't expect him to miss a lot of time. So, especially when he gets back, they're not going to rush him back. I think you have enough of the starting staff, and it's early in the season where you're not going to try to overwork guys, anyways. And when you look at the bullpen where it's at, coming back seemingly healthy, most likely a Matt Brash who did pitch in the last game of spring training, had 2 strikeouts in that game. You have a fully healthy Santos this year. You got Mooney that's ready to roll. Yes, during spring training, did you see each reliever kind of have one blow up game? Sure, but it's spring training. You're working on stuff. I expect this team, they have a variety of guys that can go short, can go long, can go high leverage, can go low leverage. I think that when George Kirby is back, he's back to form and he's not walking people. So that's going to skyrocket that
all
strikeout
right,
to walk ratio.
all right, all right.
All right. The next category we have is who do you think leads the Mariners this year in innings pitched?
I think this is also gonna be Logan Gilbert because he did it last year.
I think it's going to be Logan Gilbert too, because Luis Castillo is a sneaky pick, and the reason why
Yeah.
I was surprised that you said Bryce Miller is because he can get in some battles and have some higher walk numbers in games. And
Mm,
I discounted Brian Wu mainly because of the injuries that he's
yeah.
sustained. I think Luis Castillo, when healthy, he's a guy that just chews up innings, right?
Oh,
Which it was for
100%.
me, it was Logan Gilbert and Luis Castillo, but I ultimately went with Logan Gilbert too because
It's a no-brainer.
Logan doesn't miss starts.
No, he's always dialed in.
He's the Slender Man.
He's mostly always going to get you seven, sometimes eight, but
Sometimes five. Not as
but
often on the five.
no, but he usually goes deep into games, deeper than most of our pitchers. So yeah,
Next category we have is saves. I don't think there's going to be much of a debate on this one,
it's
but
Andres
we had to
Munoz.
highlight somebody.
I mean, with the flexibility of now having Gregory Santos, sure, there could be times
And
where
Matt
he
Brash.
comes in. Matt Brash is not closing games. I'm telling you that right now. He's going to be in the seventh or eighth inning. He's going to either he's probably going to start in the seventh when he's back, but
Oh,
he will be our setup guy once again.
he's your best pivot guy. But the
Yes.
one thing that I will say that you saw a lot with Munoz last year is if the heart of the lineup's coming up in the eighth and you're in that save opportunity, they might not run him 6 innings, but he's going to go get those 3 outs and he's going to pass the baton to someone else. So
Yeah.
there is a place where Brash or Santos could both be there,
Sure.
but you're going to default to Munoz and what he
Yeah.
was able to put
100% time.
together coming off his first All-Star season where he was nearly unhittable down the stretch.
Straight
I expect
disrespect
much
on
of the
him this
same.
year. Like the people in their rankings, he's not even in the top 15 for most of these people. And it's insane because like yeah, the saves weren't really like he did save a lot of games last year. He was electric all year. Also, I don't believe the show disrespected him, made him silver. I almost have him at para five because he's unhittable.
Yeah, the people that don't have him in the top 15 out of
It's
relievers,
crazy.
I think it's because there's one major reason is because a lot of people are stupid. It's that
I
simple.
yeah, I mean like I heard something about it on another podcast I was listening to. It's like that is one of the most ridiculous things I've heard. Like y- eh, Mooney is top 15. I
When
mean, he
it
made
comes
it
to
to the
straight up
All-Star
when it
game
comes
last
to
year.
closers in the American League, he's
I'd say
top
he's
five,
top
not
five.
he's top five, not five. Top
Yeah,
five, not five.
because I mean, what? Class A is number one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can all sit here and agree with that. Class A is unreal. Um, Presley's not in this division in the AL anymore. I'm trying to think who else. Uh, Mason Miller, probably number two.
Okay. I think
That's
Mooney's
it.
right there,
I think he's number three.
especially if that kick change actually does develop and he can use it, deploy that as a weapon,
I mean,
two or three times a game.
5 inches a drop is insane, but the
Two
one
or
he
three
got
times a
Cal
game,
with,
that's unhittable.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
All
So
right.
I think saves is Mooney 100%.
Yep. All right. The next category we have is wins. Who's going to lead the teams in wins? Are you going to go with the curveball and pick a reliever?
I'm gonna go with Bryce Miller. Bryce Miller's gonna lead the team that wins. He is. I mean, I'll have to explain more later, but I just think that year three Bryce Miller is going to be something nasty. The dude is always tweaking something. He's always in the lab, and from what we've seen, it's all been good. And I just think that with how this lineup is constructed, I do think run production is going to be a little bit more, especially with the hitting philosophy. So we're going to see a little bit more runs scored. And I think Bryce Miller's going to keep him in a good position to keep winning those games. So give me Bryce Miller here. Coach Red, who do you got for wins?
I'm also going with Bryce Miller.
Yeah.
And it's not because I looked at any stats, it's just off of my gut feel and what I've seen and how
Yeah.
it feels to me. I feel like the Mariners score more runs when he's on the bump.
Yeah.
even in his first year when he would struggle, the Mariners would sit there and slog through a 2 or 3 run affair when you've got the bigger guys on the bump, and Bryce Miller was still figuring it out. And that's the game where the Mariners would clock 6, 7, 8 runs in the game,
I
right?
mean, after the All-Star break last year, something in him finally clicked.
Oh, the
And
hail's coming.
arguably, he was right there with Tariq Skubal, right? Uh, I think that he had under 3 ERA to end the year, and I just think he's going to capitalize it on top of
I
this
think
year.
he was very close to a straight. I think he was below 2 after the
Yeah,
All-Star break.
after the break, yeah, but on year he was like 281 or 291,
Yep.
something like that.
All right, next category and last in the pitching, we're looking at ERA. Who's going to lead the team in ERA?
I just run it back, Bryce Miller. We have you just said it, at the second half of the year, he was under a two. The dude was lights out, and I think again it continues into this year, probably being your 3 or 4. And that I just Bryce Miller, double down. Coach Red, who you got?
I got Brian Wu, and
That's fair too.
reason I say
It's a
Brian
good
Wu
one.
is he has dealt with some injuries, so there's less chances for a blow up game. But if he does have a blow up game, that's going to hurt him a lot more, right?
Yeah.
I anticipate that he's going to be healthier, but that's just a gut feeling, and it's pure optimism. But when he came back from the injured list at the beginning of the year, he was damn near unhittable before he went back on it. He was rocking a sub 1 ERA, and he was on
Mhm.
it, and he was on an innings count. It was banana on what Brian Wu was able to do, and he does it with the movement on his four seam fastball, right? It's almost unhittable at times. So if you have that dominant of a straight fastball as a starter, it's going to lend yourself to doing good things in the ERA game.
Mhm. I love that pick because I think it could go either way.
I think that all if we're really looking at it, I think that where Luis Castillo is now in his career, where he's still gonna have around a 3, 3.5 ERA most likely.
Mhm.
It's gonna be between 3 and 4 most likely. But you legitimately have 4 guys that could all be sub 3 in the
Yeah,
starting rotation.
100%, dude.
I I
Ugh,
was very close also to picking Colin Snyder by what he was able to do.
yeah,
I'll be right back. Talk it out.
yeah. I think it could go either way between the Woo Man.
Sorry, had some background lights go out.
Uh,
All
all
right,
right.
going over to the categories of hitting, and we're going to start. This is a team that has struck out quite a bit. Thought about going with the OBP, but I wanted to lean more into who's going to get on base the most via the walk. So, who's going to lead this team in walks?
It's hard because I think your 1 or 9 hitter is gonna walk a lot, and that's either gonna be Victor Robles or JP Crawford. JP Crawford has had tremendous bad split, and last year was just bad, just banged up with injuries. But I think Victor Robles ultimately takes it. He showed a lot last year getting to the team. He did draw a lot of walks from the beginning to the end. Dude's plate discipline was kind of crazy at times. Um, Not a higher strikeout guy. He does get on base a lot. He's also, a potential guy to steal. So I think in the leadoff spot, he's going to do a lot to get on base. And I think that's going to lead to a lot of walks this year, just having a good eye. So, Coach Red, who do you got leading the team in walks?
I'm going with JP, and
Yeah,
I'm going to use
it's a
the
great
Victor
pick.
Robles thing against you because there's a lot of times where if Victor Robles sees something close to his pitch, he tries to blitz it right away.
Mm-hmm.
JP kind of grinds out at bats a little bit more. If
100%.
Victor sees 2 long shot balls, then he really grinds it out. But he also can get down an account early. I think JP grinds that out a little bit more than Robles does. I also kind of thought about Donovan Solano because he does have an extremely high walk rate, but I don't think he's going to be on the field as much as
Mm-mm.
the other 2 options that we discussed. So that kind of removed him for me. But I do
Me
think
and
JP, you've seen the eye go. And I
Yeah,
mean, legitimately, he challenged a ball in spring training that was like a quarter inch off the plate.
yeah,
His eye is
yeah,
immaculate.
yeah. I would also give an honorable mention in this to Ryan Bliss. I also think Bliss could have a high walk rate.
Okay. Well, you sit with that. I mean, you might also have very high strikeout rate, so I don't know how
I
that
don't
bodes
know.
well for the average, but
Yeah,
that's
we'll
we're not
see. I
talking
bet
about that yet.
he's hitting all spring. So
All right. This spot is one that we discussed last year, and I think that there are a lot more candidates that could be very high
mhm.
on this list. And I think that you're going to see this number as a total team stat be higher even than it was last year.
Yes,
And that is steals. Kane, who do you got as the team leader in steals?
I still say give me Julio Rodriguez. The big thing is you just have to stay healthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the year prior when he didn't miss really any time, the dude had a 30-30 season, right? And I think that he can have a 30 home run, like 50 season steal total. I mean, Julio's got wheels. He's great on the base pass most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time. But ultimately, I think he is one of the fastest people on this team, and I just think he has a great sense of when to take a bag. So, Coach Red, who do you got for steals?
Victor Robles.
I really like that answer too.
Victor Robles said, I'm expecting to have 40 steals by the All-Star break.
Dude, that'd be amazing,
When
right?
you look at Julio, he's a little bit limited. Julio only takes second base. Victor Robles was
We'll
like
take third.
13 out of 13 on going to third since joining the Mariners last year.
Yeah, yeah.
Julio's
I
not
see.
doing that.
No,
Julio's not taking third. Victor Robles is a menace on the base pass. You also throw in Dylan Moore, who's perennially over 20 to around 20 to 30. And you
that's
throw in
true.
Mastroboni on this team and Luke Rayleigh. All of those guys could go, and Randy Rosarena.
Randy,
I
Randy's
mean,
gonna try to go
this
for
team is
another
so fast.
2020.
It makes other teams look not so fast.
Don't forget Cal.
Yeah,
Cal stole six last year.
he's going for 4 this year, I think, with after that contract.
Can't
I, d-
count him out, dude. He's got wheels.
I don't need Cal stealing bases. I need Cal hitting dingers, getting clutch RBIs, and catching phenomenal games. If he has 0 steals this year, I'm not upset. It's a fun thing when he does it, but I don't need to see it.
It's very fun.
I don't need to see it though, because guess what? Those 6 steals are going to be well more made up by everyone else on this team.
That's fair, but I think those
I
are
would
two.
prefer to see Rowdy Telez get 6 steals more than I'd like to see Cal Raleigh get 6 steals. All right. Next stat we're diving into is RBIs, run batted in. Kane, who you got here?
Give me Big Dumper. I
The
mean,
dumper.
he eclipsed 100 last year. I think that's only gonna go up this year. Uh, and he's hitting in the probably one of the best spots in the lineup, right? Three or four. I think that's a phenomenal place to have him. As we said, he's got the clutch gene, and the dude he's figured out how to hit at T-Mobile Park as well. So I think that plays into it as well. Egger and Sice are going to have a good hitting philosophy, and I think everybody's gravitating towards it. And I think it's only going to help Cal. He's going to shatter it this year. I think he's going to shatter his RBI total from last year. Coach Red, who do you got?
I do agree that Cal's in a very good spot to do that. I think that he is going to slot in that 4 spot a majority of the year.
Yeah,
But I'm going to take the guy that's in the 3 spot is going to be stealing a lot of RBIs away from it. It's going to be Randy Rosarena. Because I think
that's fair.
with Randy, you've got 2 speedsters in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
You have Julio, you have Robles. I think that Randy really saw when he first came over to the team, wasn't super comfortable, traded it across the country in the middle of the year. I think that he's feeling more comfortable. I think that Robles, and Julio, they're all in the outfield together. They're all batting in the top 3. Randy Rosarena would love nothing more than to drive those 2 home every time he's up to bat. And I think
Oh,
he's going to do it
100%.
more often than not because I think he's going to be a higher batting average guy than
Mhm.
Cal. That's a traditional thing. And if he's got
Yeah,
speedsters in front of him, it's going to lend him to a little bit more RBI capability, I think, than Cal.
that's
I do think
fair.
that Cal could very well eclipse 100 again, but I do think that Randy's going to have more than Cal Raleigh.
Fair. I'm sticking to my guns, dude.
All right. The next stat we have is home runs.
Home runs. This one's tough as well because you do have some big boppers. But give me a big number again. He's hitting 40. He's gonna hit 40 this year. Putting my stamp on it. He had 34 last year, right? I mean, it's six away. And I just, again, I think that Big Dumper is going to just unload this year. I think he just signed a contract. I think he's going to show what it's worth, right? Um, Give me Cal Raleigh for home runs on this team. Coach Red. I think you're not going to agree with me, but
All right.
give me your home run leader.
I got you, dude. You want this to be the agree show? Not today. It's Julio Rodriguez for me. And the reason I say that is because usually you look at July and August as big months for Julio. He's usually a slower starter. You've seen him come in to spring training this year. He had 4 or 5 homers. I think ended with 5. He's hitting the ball out to all fields down in Arizona. If he can start off a little hotter, because usually he's playing catch up on the back end, I think that if he can have
And a
15
mild
plus,
start.
15 plus through the first 2.5 months, that's going to snowball through the rest of the year. So
Sure.
I think that with Julio, I think that ceiling is a little bit higher because
Mhm.
although Cal has all the power in the world, Julio has a little bit more. Like if we were sitting there
Oh,
on your
I
one of your
agree.
favorite show games, the show, I think
Yeah.
Cal Raleigh clocks in at a 95 in power, and I got Julio at a 98.
I
I
can
don't know this.
actually.
I don't know the actual things, and I don't need you to look them up. But what I am saying in my mind, that's how it is in my head.
Hey, you might be right, you might be wrong. Both are on my bench, so uh,
You should
I
just
think it's
quit
a.
playing the show. You should just quit
Mm,
if those two on your bench. Just quit.
no, I can't. I'm
All right,
sorry.
let's go to the next category. The next category is batting average.
This one is tough. This one is very tough. I do think it's going to be Radio Rosarena. Um,
Randy,
yeah, I think, a lot of the other guys, like Randy does hit for power, but he just also sprays the ball around. And I think that he's just going to be an on base menace. So give me Randy Rosarena for leading the team in average. I mean, again, with the Solano might just because of the limited games, right? But if we're going like looking at the entire year of people who get the majority of the playtime, I think Randy walks away with it. Coach Red, who do you got for this?
I'm going with Donovan Solano. And it does play slightly into the limited games. But when you look at the platoon bats that the Mariners have brought in these last couple of years, especially that righty type bat to go against the lefty starter, you're looking at the likes of Tommy LaStella, who was on the downside of his career, an older guy, which, yes, you can say that here, a handful of other guys that, weren't on this team long term. But Donovan Solano's like worst year batting average, and a lot of that time he wasn't just platooning, is like 275, 280. If you're putting him in a straight platoon role, I think he'll play off the vibes a little bit. And I think that, yeah, he's going to be a guy that's not putting the ball out of the park very often. But you want to talk about the ultimate spray guy, it's Donovan Solano. And I think
That's
with these
fair.
limited at bats, that's a better chance for every one of those hits to tick up that batting average as a whole.
You're right. You're right. But yeah, if I'm thinking long term, I think Randy's going to put up good average this year.
I mean, it's totally fair. I think that Julio also has a chance to actually be
Yeah,
flirting with that as well, especially if you see the power numbers start going early. He
yeah.
doesn't start selling out for the power because he needs to do it. Although they didn't do enough offensively, when you look at some of these guys on how they ended the season, you know what you're getting out of Cal Raleigh. You know what you're basically getting out of Julio, right? But what
Mm,
you saw Luke do down the stretch, what you saw Victor Robles do since he joined the team, when you are expecting it can't be as bad at the dish this year as it was last year for JP Crawford. There are some big question marks. Does Polanco bounce back? Does Ryan Bliss, does Demo being a more utility guy with this team instead of getting everyday starts at a regular position, that mix up kind of help ease him in the box?
mhm.
What does all that, what does Rowdy Tellez, Mitch Garver, right? What are all
Yeah.
these guys doing? And I think that you're going to see with Edgar's input throughout the whole year that you're going to see that batting average creep up. Did you go and get the highest profile guys? Did you go and get the sexiest signings? No, you're banking on yourselves. You're
Yep.
banking on this team to continue to improve because they're still relatively a young team when it comes to the grand scheme of things. They're not the
Mhm.
youngest out there, but they still are one that's on the come up, especially with a lot of these big names that we're talking about. Bliss,
Yeah.
Demo, JP, I think still under 30 years, right there, right?
Yeah. Cal's 28. I mean, Julio's 25, I believe, 26.
Victor Robles,
29. Randy's under 30. You know, I think your only guy over 30 is Telez, maybe just in a month or two.
Solano,
And Solano,
Mitch Garver,
Garver,
pretty
and
young squad.
bullpen Trent Thornton, maybe.
I'm talking about hitters.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Sorry.
Well, that's since I just said we're talking about hitters. That's enough about hitters. Now we're going to overall awards. Um, three of these are or four of the three of these are actual awards that are given out by Major League Baseball. One is probably the biggest accumulation of stats to determine the worth of a player. And the other one's probably my favorite. And we're going to start with that one. And it's vibes. Who's going to have all the vibes on this squad?
I think it's flows and ebbs through Victor Robles. I think he's the spark plug of this team. Dude, when he was mic'd up when they were on ESPN and he was talking about his monkeys, like the dude is
Hold on. Hold
electrifying.
on. I have to go catch this ball.
He's enigma, you know. I Victor Robles is gonna keep the vibes going, and it's only gonna play off Randy and Julio. Like it's gonna be electric. I think we're gonna see a fun year. Coach Red, who do you got for vibes?
I mean, the whole outfield is a vibe, right?
Yeah,
They're awesome. You get the swag from JP, you get the cool confidence from Cal, you get the utter workhorseness of Luke Rayleigh. I think that Mitch Garver came in after the last season and it was just a big mental
yeah,
emotional drain on him that it can only get better. But I agree, man. It's Victor Robles, dude. He came from being DFA'd to being that spark plug when you need it. He
yep.
came up big when Julio was out, and he was even doing stuff when he had limited use of one of his hands down the stretch. He was still doing big time things.
hmm
I love the con I love the construction of personalities within this team. I think
hmm
they all enjoy coming to the park together.
I
And
agree.
I even think if you look at the relievers, like Santos has big boss vibes. Mooney is just electric. What you get
Yeah.
with Walter, what you get with Brian Wu pulling off his best Ric Flair, and just the fun you see out of Bryce Miller and The
La
Rock.
Piedra.
Like, there's very few guys on. Sauce is fun. I mean, you look at this roster top to bottom, like the most boring guys are the guys I think in your catcher room in Cal and Garver. But
Yeah.
I mean, Cal's a different breed, right? You kind of
Yeah.
play that off where he does play that calm, cool, collected. But when it comes to just overall vibes, you'd give me Victor Robles for
Yeah,
sure.
100%. 100%.
All right, the next thing we're talking about is who's going to have the highest WAR on this team, wins above
Okay.
replacement.
I really don't understand this stat, but I'll give it my best. I think it's going to be a pitcher. I think it's going to be Bryce. I think it will be Bryce Miller. I think he's going to have the best year out of them all. Coach Red, who do you have for WAR?
I've got Julio. The reason I have
Okay.
Julio is he's always been a five, around a five or more WAR, which is an extremely good
Hmm.
place to be. What Julio does, yes, Cal is going to help you defensively. It's going to ratchet up that WAR, throwing out runners, that kind of stuff. But I think with Julio, the amount of ground he covers and the outs above expected, his ability to laser a ball into the infield, and with that higher batting average, I expect him to be a doubles and home run machine as well this year. I think that's going to really play into that. And when you look at the whole landscape of what a center fielder looks like, I don't think there's a better one in baseball as we sit here today.
I agree with you in that, but I just got to stick by my gut. I got a good feeling about Bryce Miller this year.
All right. The next thing we're going to talk about is Gold Glove. Who's going to flash the leather this year and be the best defender on the team?
Best defender.
Well, it's
Okay.
Gold Glove. Who's going to win a Gold Glove? They
Whoa.
don't actually have to win it, but who's the Gold Glove on the team?
Okay. Give me Mr. Platinum himself, Cal Raleigh. I,
Smart
I,
choice.
I imagine that he's gonna try to go platinum again this year, and that's something special. I think only one or two players have won platinum gloves back to back years. I believe Nolan Arenado won it for a good handful of years
I think Chapman's done it as well.
in Chapman. But, seeing a catcher do it, I mean, I think JT Realmuto had it once, and he's arguably one of the best in the game, right? Or was considered. So give me Cal Raleigh here. Coach Red, who do you got?
Obviously, I'm going to go with the guy from last year. It's Dylan Moore.
Oh,
Dylan Moore, Gold Glove winner last year. The reason I have him above Cal is because how he plays defense at such a high level at such a multitude of positions.
that's fair.
What he's able to do at third base, second base, filling in at shortstop. He's played third base, he's played center field. The only two positions he hasn't played in the bigs are catcher and pitcher. And he plays all of those positions at an extremely high level defensively. It's kind of like when I was coming up, my mantra was when I go out and play a game, there might have a there might be a pitcher that day that just has my number, but I can always flash the leather. Like I can always make the plays in the field, and I feel like that's what I see in Demo. Doesn't matter what you throw at him if he's batting first, second, eighth, ninth in the lineup, whether he's playing whatever position. I think that Dan Wilson some days might just like, all right, I'm putting four guys in the hat that might need a day off, and I'm going to pick one of them out. All right, you're sitting Demo. You got to go. You got to go play first base coach today for Christopher Negron. I think he's going to be the best defensive first base coach in the league, right? If you put him there. So I think that he has the ability to play at so high of a level at
Yeah,
so
of
many different
course.
positions. And he won it as the utility player this last year, and I expected him to do it again this year.
And I think you can also maybe throw Julio in the conversation as well.
I
But
think he's primed to win. I think that the Mariners legitimately could have three Gold Glovers this year.
yeah, I agree.
All right. The next award we are giving out is the Cy Young Award. No hitters are allowed. I would have accepted Luis Torrens as a write-in ballot if he was still on the team.
um, Now give me Bryce. I've been chirping about it for a hot minute now. Um, I think he's a dark horse to win this year. I think that the world, the national media, is starting to finally see how good he was in the second half last year. I just think that he's gonna be unreal. Year three, Bryce Miller is going to be one of the most insane things we probably have seen. So give me Bryce Miller to win Cy Young this year. Coach Red, who you got?
The crazy thing is I legitimately think that there is about six guys that could legitimately get Cy Young votes, and two of those are relievers. I think
Mm,
that Munoz could get Cy Young consideration. I think that Matt Brash, when healthy, can get Cy Young consideration. I think when you look at the likes of Bryce Miller, Logan Gilbert, Brian Wu, if he stays healthy, and George Kirby, I don't think that Luis Castillo is necessarily in that still at the highest level for me. But with all that being said, give me the opening day starter.
that's fair.
You saw All Star last year,
Mm,
what he's been able to get deeper in games more consistently over the last year than any other starter. So you're going to see that ratchet up. His ERA plays very well. He doesn't walk a ton of people, but I do think that with the Mariners being hopefully more competitive this year and leaning a lot on their pitching staff, you're going to see the national media look at the starting staff in a different light. And I think that
mhm.
you are going to see them. I think, didn't he finish top five last year in Cy Young votes, anyways? Go ahead and give me the guy that was the jewel of the ball last year to build upon that success that he
Mhm.
had and put forth an even better year this year.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, dude. I just have this weird
Trust me,
fascination.
I also am right there with you. I teetered back and forth. This is my biggest one because I've hyped up
Yeah.
Bryce Miller with the best of them this whole offseason, right?
Like,
But I do
the
think
national
that,
media is thinking he's a dark horse right now.
but the other thing is, they're not thinking that Logan Gilbert is a dark horse because he's a legit contender going into
Yeah,
the season.
100%. I just think this is the biggest toss up. I think it could go either way,
I,
but just give me Bryce.
like I said, I think that there are legitimately six guys on this
Yeah.
roster today. Well, one's not on it because he's going to start the season on the IL, but there's six guys that could all get Cy Young votes. All right, the last one, the Grand Poobah of all the awards, the MVP. Who's the MVP of this team when we wrap up the season?
I think it's Julio, right? It has to be Julio. He's got to be the spark that kind of leads the charge,
He's the
right?
man.
Yeah, like he may not be like the be all end all like captain of the team and all of that, right? I don't think that's his role of the team, and I think like his role is to just be the front man, right? That's just what Julio is. He's
If the Mariners team was the boy band in sync, he's Justin Timberlake.
of course, yeah, 100%, and I think Cal's right behind him for this on the team too. Um, it could be one or the other, but I just think Julio edges him out because, I mean, as we said, Cal is a very quiet guy. Like anytime, he just is so locked in, so serious. But you're always seeing Julio be like happy, laughing, doing all that. Like he's just the guy to lead the charge, and we've said it for years, right? It ebbs and flows through Julio. So give me Julio Rodriguez. Coach Red, what you got?
Give me the guy that just signed an extension. It's Cal Raleigh for me.
I love
And
it.
the
Love
reason
it.
I say that is because I feel like you're going to see Cal as he continues to grow into his
Yeah.
comfortability with this team and the commitment that the team has given to him. I feel like, especially after big hits, after all of these things, a reliever late in the game making a big out in a clutch game, you're going to see that emotion flow through Cal a little bit more. And when you talk about clutch, Cal Raleigh is the epitome of clutch. Is he going to have the highest batting average? No.
No,
But
probably.
you and I have talked about it. You had him as the highest RBI guy. You
Yeah, I
had him
did.
as the highest home run guy.
Yes, I
I
did.
didn't. I had him right there. But when you couple that all together with a platinum glove defender, how he can control this staff,
Yeah.
I think that if you are looking at this, if you lose Julio, you're up Shit's Creek without a paddle. But you do have Victor Robles that can slide into center. You have Luke that can play in the outfield regularly. You have Mastroboni. You have Dominic Canzone down in the minors that can come up and play a corner outfield spot. If you lose Cal Raleigh, to this
And
team,
everything goes to
you are screwed. Like you are rushing Harry
fair.
Ford. You are rushing him to the majors. You're getting a private jet that it will red eye. Where if Cal Raleigh gets in the first, you're trying to put Harry Ford in the fourth inning. And that's
I
not a slight
take
to Garver because I think he could do it, but he can't hold up over a whole season. So,
no.
like, you have to give it to the Iron Man of this team, how
Yeah,
he plays banged up.
that's fair.
He's the epitome. Julio is the swag. He is the man. He is the dude. But
Yeah,
Cal Raleigh is the ultimate, right? He's
yeah, and
iron.
I can't agree. I can't agree more with you. I just thought that we were both gonna go Julio because
You
just
thought
he's a
wrong.
face because he's face of the team. He's
He
the face of the
is.
team.
But like it's crazy enough where I think it was Field Yates, who's a big
Mm.
time football guy, and he goes, "Man, you got to love the sport of baseball. A guy that's named Big Dumper just made $105 million."
Yeah, he
You
did.
love to see it. You love to see it.
Oh. Dude, I told the story today of how Cal got his nickname to somebody at work, and they just thought that was the strangest thing in the world. And it's all thanks to Jared Kelnick.
Well, there's so many strange things that are going on in the world. And one of the strangest that I've noticed is the lack of people following through with the follows. We tell you
Um,
every episode. You can follow me, your boy Coach Red. First of all, you can follow me on X at the real Coach Red. If you're more of an Instagram person, the real underscore Coach Red. I'm right there. Maybe you're just flicking up and down. You want to go over to TikTok, real Coach Red there. Or maybe you're more of a YouTube guy. Well, guess what? You can find us there as well. You can like every single one of our videos. You can subscribe, which would be great. Then maybe we can make some more money and do some more cool things on here. And then you can hit the bell notification so you know when these come out. And you can also leave a comment or two. You can do all
yeah,
of that.
yeah, you could.
Kane, where you at?
You can find me over on Twitter, Kane2406, TikTok, and Twitch, Kane0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Balls, balls, balls. Do it, freaking do it.
And as always, stay fresh.
Stay fresh, peeps!
Peace.